So what is can you walk us through the journey between New York and a world of organization and a lot of feel goods and energy to Costa Rica?
Yeah.
What was that?
It was a huge journey.
I can imagine.
So going from basically, as I graduated college, I was a theater major and into dance and all that again and performing. And so I actually went, I never actually even walked for graduation. I finished my studies and did my exams. And then I immediately was hired for a show as the dance captain out in, the Quad Cities. And so I went out there and did that and then was like, okay, I'm ready. I've already like been dance captain, just like so sure that I was about to like blow the world away in New York City. And so moved to New York City and it was kind of the exact opposite. I like got a job as a like what do they call it? Oh gosh, maitre d, like a maitre d or a hostess, but like with all the perks at a
Wow.
really high end celebrity, just elite space in New York City, and let that go to my head basically.
Okay.
Because it was like everybody wanted to be there and everybody wanted the things, and so they were giving me anything they could to make me, to fill me up so that I would give them the table that they wanted or whatever, because it was so hard to get into. And I ended up turning into like a party girl, basically. Like I was, a lot of times what they would say is we'll bring you out with us tonight VIP at this club that you would never be able to get into, or certainly not VIP. And so I kind of became a party girl. And then, that was when I sort of recognized, oh, this isn't really serving me. Like I'm not living my highest and best. What do I need to do? And that's when the organization stuff came back in again. And I was like, can I trust myself to start my own business in New York City and be successful? Like, is that really a possibility?
Yeah.
And thank goodness Universe aligned me with, I also was working around the corner part-time in a gym so that I could have a free gym membership to this really amazing, elite, exclusive gym.
Yeah.
And one of the women that was there was just asking me like, what else did I do? And, how did I get there? And I was telling her about what I had done with my clients in college. And she was like, well, I need that. Can you come do that at my house? And I was sure. And she happened to be a graphic designer as well. So she like really encouraged me to just like start my business, did a website for me, did a logo for me as an exchange. And then, the company she worked for ended up hiring me to do their entire offices. And they were like a
Wow.
multi-million-dollar company. So yeah, I've just been super blessed by Source that like the following the nudges and the tiny little signs and the little things is crazy. Like who would have ever thought that like working 2 hours a week as a babysitter in a gym would lead me to starting my own company in New York City, working with multi-million-dollar clients. Like just
Wow.
how did that happen? But
Wow. Yeah.
and so then then I was organizing for the next 7 years. I also, I was like making my own hours and things, but it was fulfilling in some ways and also not. Like I just knew that the energy in New York started really weighing on me. I took off like 2 full summers. I just didn't work at all with any clients at all. And I just would go dancing and trying to connect back into myself. I would spend almost every day in Central Park or some park where I was just surrounded by nature. And I just recognized I really need to be immersed in nature. Like I'm a nature girl. And then the person that I was dating at the time worked with Tony Robbins and just one day said to me, well, you always are helping other people, like working towards their end goal, like organizing. And so the work that I did with organization wasn't just about organization. It was like, what are you working towards? And how do we make your space a place that supports, motivates, and inspires you to that goal instead of being a place that's chaotic and blocking you, right? It was like
Yeah.
every item that we hold is like another pebble in the river. And so if we are allowing all these things to create a dam, then we're not going to go anywhere. Our life force, energy, spirit's not going to be able to move through us. We're not going to receive the signs. We're just stuck in this dam. But if we can take those items and really let go of the things that are no longer serving us, even if they came from someone special, like if it's not serving you, and as Marie Kondo says now, it's like, does it spark joy, right? I should have written the book 10 years ago. I should have written it.
I've seen it. Yeah.
All is divine, right? So, but basically like take what you have and figure out which things really bring you that joy and really are supporting you, motivating you, and inspiring you towards that future life that you're aiming towards. And so by organizing those things, we kind of made this bridge, right? And it allows the river to flow freely once again. So him asking me this question, what's your end goal, allowed me to take the pieces of my life and be like, yeah, actually, like I'm not happy here in NYC. This is a giant boulder in my river right now. I need to break this up. And so when he asked me that question, I answered him by saying, well, someday I'm going to live in Costa Rica and run holistic retreats that help people to live their best life. And it came out of me like an elevator speech, right? And he was like, oh, that's so cool. How long have you wanted to do that? And I was like, I've never said that before in my life.
Wow.
And I couldn't even point to Costa Rica on a map. Like I
that
had
just
no
gave me the
clue.
chills. That's so cool.
It gave me the chills too.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow, dude, like that's, and so we started like doing all the work together of like, okay, well, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And you know, who's surrounding you and all the things that we like would do with our clients. And it was just like, wow, like, what is this? Like, I always thought my dream was to live in New York City. And that was obviously a part of the path. It was a huge part of my journey and it got me to where I was in that moment. But from then on out, it was like, okay, well, that's my end goal then. And the interesting piece is that like, I sort of saw it as like a someday thing. Someday I'm going to, someday I'm going to, someday I'm going to. But after saying that for like 3 years and creating the vision of what I wanted for 3 years, I was like, I'm done. Why am I here? What am I doing? Why is this a someday and not now? Like I was about to turn 30 years old and I just told my friends and family, like well, actually I didn't tell most people. I told my roommates who were living in my apartment because I was going to have to either, you know, completely let go of the lease or what were they going to do? They were subletting rooms from me. And I had a ton of furniture and all the things. And so I had to kind of get rid of stuff and do that. But I didn't tell my family even until like 2 months before I was leaving. And thankfully, one of my cousins knew someone who lived here. And so she got me in contact with him. And that kind of sparked me being able to actually know someone here and have some information about the country. Because I was still just like, I don't even care. I'm selling everything I own and packing up and moving to Costa Rica without a plan. Like it was just going to happen. And yeah, so that was the journey.
Wow. Wow. That is crazy. That's crazy. So you moved to Costa Rica.
I moved to Costa Rica without a plan. Okay. And the first night that I got here, I landed at this beautiful yoga space that my cousin's friend was best friends of the owners. And so he had told me, you know, you should land here. It's a beautiful beach town. It's a great place to stay. It'll help you, you know, get your feet in the ground. And my plan was to like travel for 3 months around the country and figure it out. But I landed that night, took this yoga class that was mind blowing for me. And I had been studying yoga. I had been really deeply studying yoga. I'd actually just finished a 90-day consistent yoga journey right before I left for Costa Rica. So, and yeah, it just kind of blew my mind. And then I went to the beach afterwards. I walked down to the beach and I swam out into the ocean and I turned around and it was the exact scene that I had been envisioning for those years prior while I was in New York City. And so just like tears streaming down my face, gratitude beyond. And from there, my life just unfolded so magically. There's no way I could have written it. And that's kind of where I started to have this mantra that is now like my mantra of just let the universe blow your mind.
Yeah.
When you're aligned, anything is possible.
100%. Oh, I'm getting like teary-eyed talking to you.
It's so good.
It's so beautiful. So we know, or I know that you're a mother. Mm-hmm. How did that kind of roll into, you know, Costa Rica, the US? How did that whole thing flow?
So that was an interesting experience. So as aligned as I was when I was here in Costa Rica, I still had my actual business back in New York City. So I would still go back and forth like usually every 6 months. I would, as a US citizen here in Costa Rica, I had to do like a border run. Basically every 3 months you have to reset your visa. So I would do a border run to Panama and stay for another 3 months. And then I would go back to the US for about 6 weeks and work with my clients and then repeat that cycle. So while I was in New York, well, I guess prior to that, I was on a year-long journey of really dropping into my body. And this is when I started recognizing yoni magic. And the power of, I am also a pussy priestess, and recognizing that the power of our yonis is so real, and the connection to that as women. This was part of my healing, the really greater healing of the sexual abuse that had happened to me as a child, and really being able to release all those stories of shame and guilt and judgment and what was love, still feeling like I didn't really understand what love was, recognizing that all of the relationships that I had been in up to this point were pretty toxic. Like, they were trauma bonds, not true partnerships in unconditional love. Mm-hmm. And so, unfortunately, I did a year and a half of this work for myself, and just like really dropping into all of it, and then went back to New York City and had this really beautiful experience with this amazing man, and came back to Costa Rica and dropped back into my life, teaching my yoni size classes and what is now called divine alignment classes here in Costa Rica again, and then recognized that I was pregnant. And so that was a huge mind-blowing experience for me again, and making that choice right away, that was I going to, how was I going to move through this? Basically knowing that I was about to choose to be a single mother because this other person was not my partner. And, we had already kind of discussed as I left New York that it was like, that was a beautiful thing. And that was kind of all that was it. We were both going back to our normal lives. And, but then we didn't. It turns out we're connected for life.
Yeah.
So, so getting in touch with him and kind of bringing that news to him, and yet I will say again, in radical honesty here, my words were, I don't want or need anything from you. I just want to let you know, I feel morally obligated to let you know that I'm going through with this. This is your child, and your choice from here on out. But I recognized, probably only within the last 2 years even, that in saying that, I was immediately putting up a wall, because I didn't trust that he would show up and love me. So I wasn't going to let him reject me. I was going to tell him that I didn't want anything from the beginning. And so that's been a huge journey for us, and as a family, to work through that wall that I put up there, because he actually responded with, well, I do want to be involved.
Wow.
But it turns out, again, I was 35 at this time, and he was 26. So we were in much different spaces in our lives. Not only were we in completely different countries, but we were in very different places in our life journeys. Right. And so him saying that he wanted to step up and be a father, recognizing how my son is really the catalyst on both sides of our families for like really deep generational healing. It's crazy to see, honestly. But giving us both the chance, this little soul chose us as his parents to give us both the chance, and to give our family lines, our lineage, the chance for healing. So, woo, it was incredible.
Wow. How many years after Costa Rica did you become a mother? Is it 3, 4?
It was 4 years. Yeah. So I'd been living in Costa Rica already for 4 years, which was kind of the reason that I knew I wasn't going back to the States. I was already so deep in my life here. My life was so beautiful and so magical. And every time I went back to the US, to New York, to work with my clients, it was like 6 weeks of, it was really hard. It was hard for me to be there. It was really hard for me to be there. The energy is just so much different and so intense, and the stories and the media and the, here it's like, this is my life, like jungle. I'm surrounded by nature. It's so life, and the meaning of life is so clear here. And when I'm in the US, it's just like, it's like white noise, like so strong and hard. It's hard for me to be there. So it's like culture shock. Right. So, so I knew, even though it'd been 4 years, I knew that I was meant to be here. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that, your journey, as most mothers' journeys, a lot of times having children or going into motherhood really helps us in ways, really kind of figure out who we are. I know, my experience, I see, I had my son very young. I was 20, one when I had my son.
Mm.
But it just opened up a whole new level of mind, body, spirit, because I really took that in. Like I really embraced motherhood. What was your experience with that? And has it helped you, become who you are now as a teacher, as a coach, as a mentor?
Mm-hmm. So again, this one is going to be, well, now it's easier for me to share because I have been sharing for a couple of years, but my journey into motherhood was very difficult for me. It was extremely difficult. Again, from my pregnancy being a complete surprise, completely unplanned, and just feeling that pull of like not knowing what I was supposed to do. My entire pregnancy was fraught with fear. I had these moments of like, okay, no, I'm in my power. I know this is a gift. This is a blessing. I'm trusting the universe and source. And then I would just be like a puddle of tears for days on end of like, how will I do this? How in the world will I do this? And just not, just the unknown was really scary for me. And I had the most magical birth ever though, which was seriously such a transformational experience for me. During my pregnancy, I became obsessed with watching home birth videos and just wanting to be able to have a home birth here in Costa Rica. And my son made sure that happened. He came early and just was like, we're doing this. It was like the day after I'd moved into a new home. Wow. I happened to have a friend over who, thank God, she was a mother and had gone through labor twice because I did not know that I was in labor. And she was the one who was like, can we start timing how often you need to use the restroom? Like,
wow.
Because I was convinced that I had taken my movers out for pizza the night before. And again, I've been vegan for, many years, but I ate a whole cheese pizza. And I just thought like, oh God, I have the worst indigestion ever. That was the worst mistake I ever made. Waking up at 11 o'clock at night, like, oh, what is this? Not recognizing that I was actually in labor.
Wow.
So the next day at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, she says, can we start timing this? Like, I think your indigestion might be contractions. And I'm like, oh, that's so silly, but sure. Well, it turns out they were coming 3 minutes apart. So
wow.
We called my doctor and he wasn't going to make it. There was this crazy storm happening. It was like the biggest storm that had happened in that whole year of 2017, and trees down, lightning and thunder, all this craziness. And thank God again that my friend was there. She and another friend ended up coming over as well, to bring blankets and, a first aid kit just in case. And thank God we didn't need any of it. But my son just roared through the yoni portal like he was coming in and he didn't care. And thank goodness I had done all this work with my yoni size practice of just being able to drop into my body and open that portal, and perfect, healthy little being. But then after that was when postpartum set in. And I mean, I had like 2 or 3 blissful days, and then it just was like I was taken over by this fear of not, basically all the things that I had as a child of like, I'm different, I'm not good enough, any of the things that were, inner child work all came up for me when I became a mother. And it was really hard. And I also had someone in my home who was supposed to be there as my nanny who ended up having their own mental health issues and then projecting them onto me. And so that was really hard as well. It was really, really not good. It was a lot of mental and emotional abuse. And she would just say terrible things to me, like, you're a terrible mother. This child is going to grow up to be the worst human being ever. And like really, really terrible things that I was dealing with. So, on top of having that hormone drop that you have after pregnancy and the possibility of postpartum, I was also dealing with this severe mental, emotional abuse. And so again, spirit source stepped in. My father ended up having this heart surgery and had complications afterwards. And so I was called to take myself and the baby back to the US so that we could be there for my family to help with my father's recovery. And that was a saving grace for me, honestly, because it was like, okay, now I had some support and people who were, I was out of this abusive situation. I started being able to recognize like, oh, actually, you're a great mom. Everything's going to be okay. Like everything's going to be fine. And I also started taking CBD at that point, which was a journey for me into plant medicine that really also saved my life. So,
Wow. That's so awesome. Do you think that the CBD helped with the postpartum?
yes, I do. I honestly, I credit the CBD to helping me through that because it was like, as I would say within 2 or 3 days after starting the CBD is when my body started coming back into homeostasis as CBD does. The phytocannabinoids really work within your body to help you find balance in the things that are unbalanced. And it does not work for everyone. All of our bodies are different, but thank God it worked for my different body. And it really just, it was like I was able to sleep again, which I had not been. My son was not a good sleeper whatsoever. He slept at max 2 hours at a time. But it allowed me then to finally also sleep 2 hours at a time where I wasn't before. I was, probably clinically insane from lack of sleep, which most sleep deprived new moms are, but it was bad. So I finally was sleeping. I finally was thinking clearly again. I finally felt myself again. And yeah, I was absolutely like a saving grace for me.
Wow, that's so awesome. If you don't mind, I want to stop for a second.
Sure.
I love educating women, obviously, and you've mentioned the word yoni a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it is, but I feel as if a lot of individuals don't know what that is. Do you mind talking a couple minutes on what that is, what it means,
Sure.
why the word?
Yes. So yoni is actually the Sanskrit word for like vagina and this area of the body where our sexual organs are. It also encompasses both our first and second chakras. So if you're unaware of what your chakras are even, so we're talking about your vagina and your uterus. And your chakras are the energetic spaces of your that hold different types of energies within our bodies. And if this energetic space is blocked in any way, it can cause a lot of other issues in your lives. So our root chakra is the space of support, security, feeling grounded, and in a way, it's like it's your roots. It's literally your roots, right? Your roots to this planet, to this place, to this being, into your life and your sort of worth of being here. In your sacral chakra, which is your second chakra, this is really the space in your womb here. And so really almost like the heart of the yoni, if you will, and the yoni being this whole space. And so the heart of the yoni here in the sacral chakra is this watery energy of all creation. It's where everything is created from. It's where everything starts from. How apropos that it's also the uterus, right? Like that's where we birth life and bring creation in. So it also energetically encompasses the ovaries and everything in your sort of lower pelvic bowl. And it's also the space where we hold our traumas. And so, as we've discussed, I've been through a lot of traumas in my life. And actually, my first surgery that I had when I was 2.5, they cut me open right there. And they cut through all those muscles because the issue was between my bladder and the ureters and kidneys. So that was that whole area as well. So
Wow.
I had been sliced open as a toddler and messed around with, and literally they cut these tubes and they regrafted them and they did all this work down there, flipped my valves and did all these things. So I had all these, not just energetic traumas, but actual physical traumas in my body there. So that work that I was doing, was about healing all that. And then again, it's like, I'm not looking back. I'm like, of course I got pregnant right after I did all of that. Like, of course I did. I was
Wow.
literally doing the healing and preparing this fertile ground, both energetically and physically, to receive life and to create life. And,
Wow.
so yeah, so the yoni portal is a beautiful space, but for all women, it's again where we hold our shame, where we hold any intense incidents that happen, we will hold that energy in that space. So I use the word trauma, but I know that word is thrown around a lot these days. And so any intense incident that you didn't really deal with is going to energetically be held in that space as well. So it's in your hips, it's in your pelvic floor, and it can lead to physically like incontinence. I don't want to use like medical terms because I'm not a doctor. But I'm going to say some medical terms to you right now. But like anything that has to do with your womb or your ovaries. So cysts and and all sorts of, all sorts of autoimmune things or unexplained issues with your cycle, right? So the work with yoni size and with divine alignment is about healing this space, releasing those energetic blocks so that you can heal the physical blocks, because the physical abnormalities are really just a manifestation of these energetic blocks that you have in your body. And so when we can dive into transforming through self-devotion, when we can dive into loving on ourselves so very much and loving on this space of our body, getting in connection with our cycles and recognizing that this is our magic, especially as women. For men too, this all exists. I mean, they don't have the same sexual organs, but they still have that first and second chakra space. That's still their space of creation. And so for all of us, it's important to do this healing, because whatever we are bringing into the world, whatever we are creating, is informed by the energies of this space. So as we dive into being devoted to loving ourselves and to loving the journey that we've been on, and to loving how it's brought us to where we are now, and healing this space, we open up then to be completely aligned with the divine and aligned with our divine mission through the yoni portal.
Wow. I'm glad I asked, because a lot of that I didn't know. Yeah. That's awesome. Absolutely. Do you teach that? Is that one of a part of a course or a program or a retreat that you do?
Yes. Yeah, that is divine alignment. And so that is kind of what I offer through, I don't currently have any courses up, but we're working towards getting all of that back online again. I've kind of been focused on the motherhood thing for the past 4 years, mostly. I was teaching at some international festivals, the Envision Festival here in Costa Rica, and some other jungle camp and other things that happened here for retreats. But yeah, I'm getting ready to bring that all back online and start offering those classes again, online and in retreats here in Costa Rica as well. So yeah, divine alignment is what it's now called, and it's all about transforming through self-devotion.
That's so awesome. What are the retreat? You know, do you have an idea, or what you used to, or what your I guess what your niche or genre is?
Yeah. So I worked for a long time prior to becoming a mother. I was working really in just yoga retreats and helping to assist with yoga teacher trainings and this sort of thing. But now, the focus now is on well, really what brought me through to my healing and to feeling like successful as a single mother, as 2020 hit and all the things that shifted. You know, there were no more retreats. There were no more physical classes. And I didn't have the time to really put myself teaching online. I didn't feel like I had the support that I needed to do that. But I ended up finding several other things online that were not as time consuming, that really helped me, being both cryptocurrency and universal abundance. And so just really committing myself to teaching through this. I actually host a call every single morning. I see a lot of my regulars on the call here with us today. It's called Activation and Alignment Activation, and it's on Zoom. And we just basically drop in every morning and allow ourselves to open up to spirit and source, to become aligned in this way. And through this group and through this universal abundance, we are committed to co-creating the magic of the earth together and raising the vibration and frequency of humanity. So I work within that portal, and then within that group also bringing these retreats in. So I know that was like a whole like what, but basically through these two different major sort of, what even to call them, pieces of my life. They are the things that come together for the retreats. So as we move forward, there's my next one. We just finished the first Universal Abundance retreat, which we called Utopia, which was here in Costa Rica. That was the last week of July. So we just finished that one. And now we're coming into the next offering, which will be not fully Universal Abundance related, but into divine alignment. And that one is going to be taking place January 15th through the 22nd here in Costa Rica, taking in the potent full moon that week, and really just dropping into source and that alignment of whether we will be doing some work with what I've talked about, yoni size as divine alignment, of doing that work of healing the inner child, and just really getting yourself into alignment with your highest self and your highest calling. So, and we'll also be offering global universal abundance retreats around the world. As I said, the first one just took place here in Costa Rica. I believe the next one is going to be in Mexico, but we are still looking at finalizing the dates on that, probably in either September or October.
Wow, that's so great. That's so great. I have to ask though, with all of this and just educating yourself, even all of this, shout out to all the mothers out there. How are you juggling this? How do you time block? What's your way of doing both, doing all of it actually?
Yeah, that's been my biggest journey, honestly. Like, as I said, my journey into motherhood was like fraught in the beginning with the postpartum. And then even as I came out of the postpartum and had the CBD and had the support of the heavy metal detoxes and the things I was doing, getting my body and my health back, I still find that my work now is the generational stuff, right? It's like, and our children come in as the little teachers that they are. So I've been doing a lot of that work and sort of just allowing the business side of things to just flow. And really, like, that's why I said it's been an interesting flow, because I went from having these retreats and doing all these things to like, what do I do now? And so thankfully, that's when my Universal Abundance community came in, and it was like, oh, okay, I can just be a part of this community and show up in the ways that source tells me to, or in the ways that my higher self nudges me to. So I started with, being very rigid and in the divine masculine of having the schedule, and I have to do these many hours a day, and I have to sit and do this and da 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 da. And like, but then when 2020 hit, I like didn't have a nanny anymore, and we couldn't see other people, and I was alone, and I felt like I couldn't do anything. And my son was 2.5 at the time. So he really needed my time as a toddler. Right. So I basically just like stepped back and was like, I'm focusing on my son, and had to make that choice of like, we really struggled financially there for like 1.5 years. It was hard. And then, thankfully that's when cryptocurrency came in, and I was able then to just put in a couple hours, power hours. So that's what I do now is I take power hours when I'm inspired to do a power hour. I jump on, I post in social media, I connect with people, I answer messages, and then I jump out and I live my life. And as I started having that alignment coming in, right, then I started becoming that conduit for abundance to flow through me. And I started recognizing myself, as I am on Instagram, the abundance genie. And as I let abundance flow through me and started recognizing the power of myself as the alchemist, right? I am a wealth and wellness alchemist. I started, like, people just started flocking to me. So it's like I became that magnet, and that almost like I think of like the Batman signal sometime, right? Like I allow source to work through me and send that signal out. And those who are meant to join me on the journey just come in, and they are attracted to it. Like the same way here in Costa Rica, if you leave a light on, you're going to have the jungle creatures are coming, right? So it's like,
oh my God.
So it's just allowing source to be inspired by the jungle, allow source to use me as that light, and allow those who need to be on this journey with me to be attracted to it and answer to that. So, so that's basically the answer. As a single mama, the way I do it is by aligning with my highest and best, and not putting the pressure on myself to show up in the ways that other people say I have to. And that's been a huge shift, right? To be like, oh, like we're so conditioned to think we have to work 9 to 5. We have to do this. We have to go to an office. We have to do, like all the things. But I find the more that I spend time with my son, the more I get out in nature, the more I celebrate my life and have gratitude for every single moment, every like just hearing the birds around me, hearing the cicadas around me, and just being like, yes, thank you for your frequency. Thank you for reminding me to just be, right. That's when like all the things come in. It happened to me just yesterday. We were talking on my call this morning about it with the group, about how, yesterday we had a really intense call in the morning. We all worked through some really deep stuff and really started letting go of stories and aligning with what our truth is in this moment. And I got off the call and it was like, okay, I have this whole list of things that I need to get to. And my son was like, Mommy, can we go to the playground? And I was like, which one, the beach playground or the town playground? And he's like, the beach. And I'm like, we're doing it. We're making it a beach day. And I left the notebook behind, and I left it all behind. And I went to the beach with him. We picked up his bestie along the way. I took the kids to the playground and let the universe blow my mind. And 3 different people asked me about what I do and da, 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 da. And now basically made a lot of money by doing nothing.
Wow.
Okay, thank you. It's like when you're aligned, you're just attracting it and it comes to you, and you're that magnet, that conduit, that vessel for abundance to flow through. And so that's a lot of what divine alignment is as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great story right there, because that's hard.
It is. It's very hard because your mind, and still my mind on a daily basis is like, that list, that to-do list. Like I have a to-do list. I make the to-do list.
Yeah.
And then it's just about like envisioning those things happening, whether I physically do them or not. Like what's the end goal of that to-do list? Yeah. And really tapping into that. And sorry, I need a little water here.
That's fine. And I feel like, to go along with everything that you're saying, that's absolutely beautifully said, is being present. So while you're at the beach, being present at the beach versus thinking about the to-do list. Right. And I think that in itself is incredibly important on both ends. So when you're working, work. Yes. Like work hard. And when you're with your children, be with your children hard. And when you're at the beach, and being able to really, put the blinders on and focus on where you are in the present. Yes. I think really once I started to do that in my life, I really started to truly enjoy all the aspects of being alive in like a heightened state. Because, prior to that, having dinner together was even kind of, quick for me. Like I got to hurry up because, got to do my son's homework. And then I have other stuff that I need to do to grow my business. And once I really started to shift on dinner is dinner, and I need to not just be present, but be present mentally, like force all of those thoughts out of my head and just concentrate on what's going on. Really helps you connect with people. Like even here with you and I, listening to your words and knowing that, I'm doing 5 different things while I'm speaking to you, but making sure that I'm 100% present with you is what really creates the connection. And why, 3 different times while we've been talking, I'm brought to tears because I'm here and I'm present with you, is what really, creates the joy and the happiness and the connection that we actually need as humans.
It's so spot on. Exactamente. Like exactly. Because if I wasn't present, if I was still like, oh, we're going to the beach, but I was still thinking about whatever. And I was still, and I'm a human. So there are often times that we literally go to the playground so that I can be on my phone and my kid is doing his thing and I can be working. Yeah. Because I have to, like, whether, maybe I don't have a nanny that day or whatever it might be. But yeah, it's super important that we get clear on what we're doing and we focus and bring our full presence and attention, because that's, again, when you're in that full presence and attention awareness, that's when you're open to seeing the signs, right? The little signs from the universe about here's the next step that you're supposed to be taking. And if we're so busy in our minds, multitasking at all times, we're not going to see those signs. We're going to completely miss them and, maybe take a wrong turn, which isn't ever a wrong turn, but the universe will slap you in the face to be like, back over here, please.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.